Another weekend in, another great series for the Pirates. What is going on, my brothers and sisters? This is Steel Sermon in the house Sunday evening with another video. As always, do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Instagram, link in the description. Pirates go into DC, take 2 out of 3 against the Nationals, concluding a phenomenal April. 20-9. The Pirates finished the month of April 20-9. And that is now a franchise record for the most wins before the month of May in franchise history. That's right. The Pirates set a franchise record for the most wins before the month of May in franchise history. We dropped today 7-2 to the Nationals, but before that, yesterday we had a doubleheader against them because Friday's game got rained out. A 6-3 win over Washington. Miguel Andujar making his season debut, and he did nothing but deliver, just continuing to, hit the ball very well. Some great fielding as well, some really good pitching. Kutch, once again, just coming through real big moments. And then the piece de resistance last night, 16-1 over the Nationals. I am not making that score up. 16-1. The big blows in that one, Jack Sawinski, a towering grand slam to the upper deck and right. And then Drew Maggi, who's been stealing all the headlines over the past week or so, got his first major league base hit after 13 years in the minors. And it just so happened to be an RBI to put the Bucs up 13-0. And Miguel Andujar again, 3-run homer to make it 16-0. You could not ask for a better weekend, man. And I know Johan Oviedo had a rough outing today. It was a rainy day in D.C. today, and everyone's like, oh, well, the rain messed him up. Well, the Nationals had to go through the same thing, too, so I'm not using that as an excuse. It just wasn't his day. It happens. But the premise of this video is not so much a recap or a Tampa Bay preview. I'm going to have a preview of that up possibly by Tuesday morning, which is the first game of the 3-game series down in Tampa Bay, because the Pirates are going to be tested in the month of May. We got Tampa Bay in Tampa Bay. We come back home to play Toronto, and later in the month we play Baltimore and Texas. Those are 4 really good teams that we play in May. And honestly, if we can go at least 6-6 against those teams, I love our chances moving forward this season. But I'm going to address that more in my Tampa Bay preview. But in this video, I'm going to sit down here after the month of April, and I'm going to tell you why I believe, my 5 reasons why I believe the Pittsburgh Pirates are for real, and why this is a good team. So let's get on to it. These are my top 5 reasons why the Pirates are for real this year. My number 5 reason, I'm going in descending order again. My number 5 reason is honestly the NL Central. Now, like I said about a week ago, the Pirates, much like the Steelers, have never finished last in the AFC North. The Pirates have never won the NL Central. And the Pirates' best chance at winning the NL Central came from 2013 to 15 when we were making all those playoff appearances. But we always finished second place behind the St. Louis Cardinals. And now you figure, the bottom line with that is that when the Pirates were good, the NL Central was loaded. And need I remind you, 2015, this team won 98 games in 2015. The Cardinals won 100 games in 2015. The Chicago Cubs had the 3rd best record in baseball with 97 wins. You fast forward to 2023, so far the NL Central looks pretty strong. We currently sit on top of the NL Central at 20-9. Right behind us are the Milwaukee Brewers, who are 18-10. The Chicago Cubs sit at third place. I believe they're 14-14. And then Cincinnati is just bad as expected. St. Louis sucks this year, man, and I freaking love it. They're 10-19. They got swept by the Dodgers. A team that we swept last year, and we just took 2 out of 3 against again, by the way. But yeah, the point is, the NL Central figure is looking pretty strong so far, and all it takes is for one of those teams to fall off the map a little bit, and so far, the Chicago Cubs have fallen off the map. They got off to a strong start. The Cubs at one point were 11-6. Yeah, that's right. The Cubs were 11-6 at one point, and we were just a half game behind the Cubs. Since that 11-6 start, the Cubs are 3-8. Milwaukee was dominating at one point. They were 14-5 at one point. They've fallen off a little bit. Since that 14-5 record, when we were a half game back of them about, a week and a half ago or so, since then, the Brewers have been on a little bit of a slump. They are 4-5 since that 14-5 record, and all we've done is take advantage of that. The NL Central is still a pretty strong division so far, with those 3 teams being competitive this year. But like I said, all it takes is for one of them to start dwindling down a little bit, and the Pirates just have to take advantage of it. And so far, that's what we've been doing. Because on the contrary to where when the Pirates were good and the NL Central was strong, when the Pirates were bad, the NL Central was kind of weak. So the NL Central just kind of doesn't know what it wants to be this year. It doesn't know if it wants to be a 3-team playoff division. It doesn't know if it wants to just be 2. But the bottom line is, the Pirates sit on top of a tough division so far. And we've played, the 2 worst teams in this division, St. Louis and Cincinnati. We still got to play Milwaukee and Chicago. But our record within the division is 7-4 so far. 5-2 against the Reds, 2-2 against St. Louis. So I know we've only played the 2 worst teams in the division so far, but the fact that we are sitting on top of this division with the best record in the NL at 20-9, taking advantage of slumps from Chicago and Milwaukee, when the past Pirates teams wouldn't have even come close to doing that, it just shows improvement, and it shows why the Pirates are doing what any other good team would be doing. So that's my number 5 reason, is the NL Central. My number 4 reason, the new rules in baseball this year. The Pirates have been taking advantage of that. And you see it with stuff like stealing bases. Entering today's game, the Pirates had stole 40 bases. By far the most in the big leagues. With the bigger bases, the wider bases, everyone's comparing it to a Domino's pizza box. The Pirates are stealing bags. 40 stolen bases on the year for the Pirates. The second place team in that category is Cleveland, and they have 32. That's a pretty big gap right there. The Pirates are running the bases really well. They're getting themselves in scoring position, and they're taking advantage of the fact that new rules are being implemented. The pitch clock working in our favor. It gets the players mentally quick enough and ready enough to get ready for an at-bat. The young pitchers that we have are going to be called up, and they're going to adapt to this system. They're not going to be, thrown into the mix where they could just take their sweet time. They're going to be used to this when they get called up. And it's just something I like to see. I know Mike Burrows is going to have to undergo Tommy John, which is really unfortunate for him. He's going to miss at least 14 months. But you know what? Mike Burrows, I would rather have him suffer it now than later. Because at least if he recovers from it now, we're still going to get him when he's fresh and ripe to come up from the farm instead of when he's in his prime. So yeah, it stinks that Burrows is undergoing Tommy John. JT Brubaker's going to need that as well. But I kind of see it as with the departure of one, you gain another. And still, you got Luis Ortiz down in Indianapolis, who's just been wrecking it so far. And you still got Bubba Chandler, but that's another video for later. But the new rules are starting to work in favor of the Pirates. I mean, I know we can't shift anymore, but say this team goes to extra innings, which we've done a couple of times already this season. When this team goes to extra innings, I get a really good sense that they're going to pull off a dub because of the aggressive base running, the situational hitting, and they're using it to their advantage. So the new rules are definitely a reason why I believe the Pirates are legit this year. My number 3 reason, leadership. The Pirates have not had any kind of leadership at all ever since the 2018 season, in my opinion. But now, in the offseason, Ben Cherington makes these moves. He brings in veteran players. Rich Hill, Vince Velasquez, Austin Hedges, Carlos Santana, Connor Joe coming back to the Bucs, G-Man Choi, and of course, Andrew McCutchen. And I made a comment about McCutchen when we got him back in January saying, oh, he's not going to turn the clock back to 2013. We're not getting his MVP season. All Kutch has been doing this year is like turn the clock back to 2013. It's like he's 36 going on 26, you know? His form is great. The power's there. His OPS is really good. He's getting on base. He leads the league in walks, I think. McCutchen is kind of like the emotional glue that's holding this team together, and you can tell that he is really helping out some of these young kids that we have on the team. A buddy of mine at work compared this season to Willie Stargell's 1979 season where he won league MVP and the World Series MVP too. And honestly, it's a pretty good argument to make. Both are in their late 30s. Both of them are Pittsburgh favorites. Both of them had a great past, and they're both here to steer the ship and lead this team into battle, and they are there to just play. McCutchen is our best hitter so far. And if you're thinking about Brian Reynolds and his stats, well then congratulations, you've successfully identified our second best hitter so far. But Andrew McCutchen has been doing phenomenal this year. And it's just the overall leadership. I know Rich Hill's a million years old, but, Rich Hill, it kind of seems like back when he was younger and he was starting in the big leagues, he's kind of spreading his knowledge a little bit, and you can see it take effect. Rich Hill has surprisingly done pretty well, as has Vince Velasquez. Carlos Santana, he's a veteran too. He's been bounced around the league a little bit, and even the Seattle Mariners, when they had Carlos Santana last year, even they were saying Carlos Santana's presence is just felt with this team because of what he brings to the table as a player. And even G-Man Choi, who is unfortunately on the 60-day IL. But these veterans and these guys who have been around in the league for an extended period of time, they are definitely showing leadership. If you want to, seriously, 2 years ago, if you would have asked me who the leader on the Pirates is, I wouldn't have had an answer for you. You ask me that question now, I can give you at least 3 answers. The Pirates, in my opinion, have 3 good leaders on this team. McCutchen, Santana, and Hedges. Because we know that Austin Hedges is probably going to be here until Endy Rodriguez gets called up. He's hurt too. He has a little bit of a forearm problem, but thankfully it's nothing too serious. He's just going to miss a little bit of time. But Henry Davis is raking it down in the minors as well. He's our number 1 pick from 2021. That's a guy who's going to be a phenomenal player for us. But the leadership is really taking effect with the Pirates right now, and it's just beautiful to see. My second reason why this team is legit, individual performances. And you see it with guys like Jack Sawinski, who I mentioned early at the beginning of the video. Grand slam last night. He's batting .297 on the season, 6 homers, 18 RBIs. He had a quiet day today. It happens though. But Jack Suwinski got off to a slump to start the year, but ever since that, I think it was the Rocky series. Since the Rocky series, Jack Suwinski has just been phenomenal. He is now a top 10 guy in homers this year. Rodolfo Castro, when O'Neal Cruz went down and his number was called up at second in the middle of the infield, Rodolfo Castro has been producing. There was one point where he went a full week when he was in the middle of the infield and he recorded a base hit in every single game. Connor Joe coming back to the team as he was drafted by us in 2014, spent some time with the Rockies, had to miss some time due to cancer. I did not know that he had cancer, by the way, but he's doing very well from that. Connor Joe's coming back, and he's just crushing it. The guy's getting on base. He's playing slick defense as well. Ji-Hwan Bae, another great individual performance so far. He's a great two-way player. Plays really good defense. I especially think that he plays great defense in the outfield. He's made some phenomenal plays in the outfield, like that catch that he had against the Red Sox at Fenway. 2 great catches in St. Louis in that 4-game series with the Cardinals. And of course, in the second Astros game, he walked them off on a 3-run homer. And the guy is just overall such an aggressive base runner. He's 10 for 11 with steals so far this year. When Ji-Hwan Bae gets on base, you can bank he's going to get himself in a scoring position and that whoever's at bat is going to do their best to knock him through. Ji-Hwan Bae, amazing start to the season. Carlos Santana, he's quietly been a major contributor to this team so far. The extra base hits, the pop in the bat, him running the bases aggressively, his play at first base. He had a steal today against Washington. He has 3 stolen bases on the year. You didn't really see that a whole bunch when he was with Cleveland. But now he goes on over to Pittsburgh, and all of a sudden he's starting to steal some backs. Carlos Santana has been, like I said, a quiet contributor to this team. And he's hit a couple of dingers. He hit a homer on the home opener. And he's hit a couple others since then. Ke'Bryan Hayes, as expected, great glove at third base. He's one of the best defensive third basemen in the league, if not the best. You can argue between him and Arenado. You have an argument with either one of them. But Ke'Bryan Hayes, great glove. I'd like to see him take that next step forward with his bat. I actually like him in the leadoff position in O'Neal Cruz's absence because O'Neal Cruz usually bats leadoff, but it looks like Ke'Bryan Hayes is, starting to turn it around as far as batting leadoff goes, which actually is a good problem to have for when O'Neal Cruz comes back, because who's to say you can platoon them. Have O'Neal Cruz lead off one day, have Ke'Bryan Hayes bat lead off the next day. It's a good problem to have. So Ke'Bryan Hayes stepping up. And then, of course, you got the $106.75 million man for the next 8 years, Bryan Reynolds. The guy has just been nothing but a production assembly line machine since that extension. Driving in runs, getting on base. He is hustling every single time he makes contact with the ball. Even if he gets out, you see him with the aggressive base running. His helmet is literally flying off of him when he's running the bases. He played for that extension, and it kind of looks like I was right about, the bereavement leave, because, like I said, stuff like that, it can mess with you emotionally sometimes. But now it looks like that the pressure's off of him, and he's just booking it. Bryan Reynolds playing like he earned that extension, and he most certainly did. He has 5 homers and 20 RBIs on the season so far. That's not, a common list to be on at the beginning of the season. Only very few ball players are able to be on that list at the end of April. And Bryan Reynolds is there. Tell me he does not deserve that extension. Because he most certainly did. And I think I can speak for the entire Pirates fan base when I say that I am just overjoyed to have him here for the next 8 years with a no trade clause and no opt-out. It's just going to be phenomenal to see. But my number one reason, in my personal opinion, my number one reason why the Pirates are legit this season, like I said last week after the Red Series, pitching, pitching, pitching. Today may have been a bad example because Johan Oviedo did not have a good start. He gave up 7 runs in 4 innings, which, it happens to the best of pitchers. It happened to Randy Johnson. It happened to Greg Maddux. Happened to Pedro Martinez. Happened to Sandy Koufax. You name it. It's happened to the best of pitchers. But other than today, the Pirates are first in quality starts, and it's not even close. Today, as of today, in 16 of the last 19 games, the Pirates have had quality starts. They may not have all been wins, but you don't have to collect a win to have a quality start. Okay, the last game against Houston where we dropped 2 out of 3 to them, that was a quality start. And like I said, 16 of the last 19 games have been quality starts for the Pirates. You want to know how many quality starts the Pirates had total last year? 32. 32 all of last year. In other words, a month into the season, the Pirates have already had half of the quality starts than what the team had all of last year. That is a major sign of improvement. And needless to say, top 10 in ERA. Top 5 in clutch pitching. Meaning when they get themselves into a bit of a sticky situation, they don't panic. They don't try to see how fast they can throw their four-seamers. They don't miss location and command with their breaking balls and their sliders and their changeups. They don't, just go out there and just book it. They take time. They, have good communication with the catchers, and they get themselves out of a jam. They know how to buckle down. They have that mental chip inside their head that says, okay, this happened, but we can recover from it. And that just goes around the team as a whole. That just is the kind of vibe that this team has. Like today, we lost 7-2 to the Nationals today. And it's like, okay, that happened. We lost 7-2 to the Nationals today. So it's like, okay, this happened today. But now it's our chance to respond. Like against the Dodgers Tuesday night. We were up 7-2 against LA late in the game. Dodgers came back, took advantage of late game errors by the Bucs, and they beat us 8-7. It's like, okay, that happened against a good Dodger team. But now we're going to take the series. And that's exactly what the Pirates did. 8-1 against LA the next day, 6-2 against them the next. The pitching has that mentality too. It's like, okay, Johan Oviedo had a bad game today, but now we get to have, Rich Hill go out there and have a quality start. Then Mitch Keller's going to go out there and do his best against Tampa Bay. And then Roansy Contreras gets to follow suit with that. The pitching is just so good so far. Mitch Keller has figured it out. Mitch Keller's ERA is below 4. Roansy Contreras living up to the hype. Vince Velasquez is on a tear right now. 18 innings straight with him without allowing a single run. Phenomenal job by Vince Velasquez. Johan Oviedo, aside from today, has been sensational so far. And even Rich Hill isn't doing all that bad either. And like I said, down in the farm, we still got Luis Ortiz. We still got Mike Burrows when he's going to be recovered from Tommy John. And we still got Bubba Chandler. It's going to be exciting to watch This is a team that has allowed the fewest home runs this year. The Pirates pitching has only allowed 6 homers this entire season so far. The past 2 seasons, the Pirates have been towards the bottom in that category, if not the worst. We've only allowed 6 homers the entire season so far. And do I even need to talk about the back end of the bullpen? Colin Holderman and David Bednar have just been sensational. I mean, Colin Holderman, sure, he had a bad game against LA on Tuesday, but he quickly turned it around in the third game Thursday, excuse me. David Bednar leads the league in saves. And even our middle reliever, Jose Hernandez, when he got called to the mound when it was 7-1 Nationals, he limited the damage. Pirates didn't allow a single run after that. So it's like, okay, we left guys on bases today. It could have been a closer game. We still would have lost if we didn't, if we took advantage of that bases loaded opportunity in the game. But still, it's like this team just has a different mentality to them now, Instead of just cowering in fear and just sulking because you lost a game, like I said before, okay, this happened, but here's how we're going to respond. They don't panic in the locker room. There's a great aura in the clubhouse with the leadership, as I said, and the pitching has just been dominant. What's the old saying? Pitching wins championships. Yes, it does. And the Pirates have great pitching. And just overall, just a great attitude as well. This is a team that just does not give up. This is a team that fights, and they just find ways to win. Because I'm telling you, that 7-game winning streak that we had, I know it was the Reds. I know it was the Rockies. They stink, okay? No one's arguing that. But I'm telling you, the second half of 2019, when this team was 4-24 to start the second half of 2019 after the All-Star break, all the way up until last year, I can guarantee you, if you had those exact rosters from any one of those teams thrown into this year, during those 7 games, we lose at least 5 of those games. I'm telling you that right now. This is a completely different team, and this is a good team. And if you haven't already, shout out to Ethan Smith. He's with Locked On Pirates. Phenomenal podcast, I listen to him after every series and before every series. The guy's very knowledgeable. Go sub him up. I'll have his link posted in the description box as well. Go sub him up if you're looking for Pirates content other than me. But Ethan Smith asked a good question in his Pirates Nationals preview. And he asked, at what point do we stop saying this is a good start for the Pirates? And when do we start saying this is a good Pirates team? You want my answer? I'm saying it's right now. This is a good team. This is a different team. This is a team that has an identity. This is a team that has leadership. This is a team that has good young players on the horizon. This is a well-managed front office. And it's a well-managed team so far this year. Yes, I'm saying it with Derek Shelton. So, again, I'll leave this off as the perfect segue with my Pirates and Rays preview, which, again, I'll have up on Tuesday before the series begins. So I'm going to end it right here. Like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Instagram and on Twitter. And follow Locked On Pirates if you haven't already. Links are in the description below. Let's go Bucks, baby. This is Steel Sermon checking on out for the night. May God be with you all.